Hello, welcome all. The topic for today's module is language use. So, what does that mean? What is this module all about? Discover that in course of time. Now, let us understand the concept of language in society, that is, the language that is external to us. Let us first start by understanding the different language families of India. So, there are 5 main language families of India, which is the Indo-Aryan, Dravidian, Austroasiatic or Munda language family, Andamanese and language family, the Tibeto-Burman language family. Hindi and Assamese are examples of Indo-Aryan languages. These are usually spoken in the northern part of India. Tamil, Malayalam, Telugu are all examples of Dravidian languages, and these are seen in the southern part of the country. Santali, Mundari, Ho, Sora are examples of Munda or Austroasiatic languages, and these languages are usually spoken in and around Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and Orissa. Examples of Tibeto-Burman languages are Tibetic, Tani, Naga, etc. and these languages are spoken around the Himalayan regions and some parts of northeast. Jarawa, Sentinelese and Akakol are all examples of Andamanese languages. As the name suggests, these languages are spoken around Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Now, let us look at point number 2 and 3. So, these are the utterances of a 6-year-old boy. I walked to a classroom, a first standard classroom in Chennai back in 2015 and interacted with a few kids there. And when I asked the boy what he had for breakfast, he said this as a reply to my question. So, he said, "Nya school varumbo chai kudichu, 2 idli kalichu. Illa, 1 idli kalichu, 1 idli baki vechu." Which means, I had tea before coming to school, I had 2 idlis. No, I had 1 idli. Similarly, in a different context, the boy said, "Enkiteyum sticker undallo chechi kanano ipidava," which means, I too have stickers, sister, do you want to see? Come here. So, if you analyze this sentence, at a peripheral level, you might feel like this is proper Malayalam sentences with few English words in that, such as 1, 2 and stickers. But that's not true. If you go for a deeper analysis, you see that the sentence consists of Malayalam loan words, that is, the words that Malayalam has borrowed from other languages, which a lot of Malayalam speakers might feel is a Malayalam word. And what are these? There is an Arabic word baki, the Hebrew word ba. Well, it tells that languages are quite open, they are quite fluid. They lend, they borrow words from other languages. They are very flexible in nature. Now, let us look at another interesting phenomena, and that is called reduplication. So, I am going to explain this concept of reduplication through a couple of English sentences that we often hear around us. The examples are, he is very, very good, or she is walking slowly, slowly. He is very, very good, he is very, very bad, he is very, very talkative. Well, these are all the expressions or sentences that our teachers tell our parents, right? During parent-teacher meeting. Yeah. Similarly, expressions like she is walking slowly, slowly. Well, I don't think you would come across expressions of these kind among native speakers. Maybe they say very, very to emphasize or as a form of emphasis, but you would not see them reduplicating words like slow or adverbs like slowly, fastly and all that. So, this feature is called reduplication, and this is prevalent in languages of our country such as Tamil, Malayalam, Hindi. I am not sure about other languages, but these are the languages that I speak, and I know that in all of these languages, reduplication is prevalent. Dheere dheere chal raha tha, romba romba mosam, valare valare mosham. So, reduplication is used to emphasize a little more, to give an additional emphasis, right? So English does not have reduplication feature, and what we do is a feature of our language, we transfer that to a new language, or since we are talking about a society, let us not talk about the we part. So the rule of one language is taken by another language, right? That is the rule of, let us say, Hindi or Malayalam or Tamil is openly accepted by English. So look how elastic, look how absorptive, look how open languages are. So this also tells us that the very fabric of a society is multilingualism. We are all multilingual in nature, so are our languages. They are quite open. If you look at the features of language, you see that they are quite open to change. They are very flexible, they are very absorptive and elastic in nature. Now, armed with an understanding of how language works external to us, that is how language works in society, let us now see how language is perceived, used and treated in schools. So let me start with an excerpt from a lecture given by a principal to the parents of students of the first grade on the first day of the academic year. This is on linguistic and cognitive differences, and I am going to read it out loud. Your child might have gone to pre-KG, LKG and UKG classes. They might know to read, write and speak English effortlessly, but there are students in the class who have not had the privilege to go to pre-primary classes. Once the classes begin, your child might approach you and tell you, Mother, Father, the boy who sits next to me in the class doesn't know to write the English letters. Please don't ask him to not sit beside his illiterate friend. What you can tell him is to teach his friend what he knows. Parents often approach us requesting if their children can be made to sit with the studious and the good children in the class. Let us not follow any kind of discrimination in our school. We are all not alien to these kinds of experiences, are we? We would have been told by our parents or teachers or relatives or neighbors at some point of time during our school days to befriend the studious and the smart kids of the class. Students who can speak well, write well, do math well, who are all-round performers of the school. There has always been an admiration, and there is an admiration for students who use good English. In most private English medium and central government schools, regional languages are strictly prohibited for communication among students. There are a lot of studies and researches done on English versus regional languages in schools and its impact on students. This is a very interesting topic. However, because of time constraints, I am not getting into that. If you are interested, do write to us. We will send you certain articles and reading materials. They'll give you a good idea of the role of language in schools. So, because of lack of time or time constraints, I am going to very briefly touch upon some interesting observations that I have made during these school visits. That is when I did my research in 2015. So, with that, we will understand the different kinds of misconceptions and stereotypes surrounding language in the domain of education. Now, I am going to read out a teacher's opinion on teaching regional languages in schools. So, she says, this is the era of globalization. English is the dominant language now. The outside world awaiting every kid is fiercely competitive. Without English, you are out of the race. The school should not waste time teaching regional languages that will be of no use or little use to the students. So, please note that I have received varied responses from teachers to this question. There are a lot of teachers who felt that regional languages should definitely be taught, but because we are talking about linguistic stereotypes and misconceptions, I am quoting this particular response and this particular teacher's response. Now, let's, so through these, with just this one teacher response, we will quickly analyze and understand certain linguistic misconceptions or stereotypes that teachers hold, or for that matter, a lot of us hold. The first misconception that a lot of us have, or a lot of teachers also have, is that an early start is an ideal condition. Well, that's not really true. What matters more is the quality of the input, that is, the quality of the language received by the student, because we're talking about language in schools, or by a learner. There is a debated theory that says that it's known as a critical period hypothesis. It states that children below 14 years of age acquire language or acquire languages faster than adults. But there are researchers that have proven that if at all adults are slow at learning, it is because of certain inhibitions such as shame or fear of committing errors, and children do not have that, or a lot of children do not bother themselves with shame or fear of committing errors, and therefore they pick up the language faster. So if adults kind of stay away from such negative inhibitors such as fear of committing errors and shame, then adults could learn like anybody else. The second misconception is that the mother tongue stands in the way of learning a foreign language. That's again not true. It's a very common misconception among people that child's mother tongue is an obstacle or hindrance to language learning. In fact, the opposite is true. That is, mother tongue aids foreign language learning. There are a lot of researchers that have proven that having a sound knowledge in mother tongue can only aid second language learning. The third common misconception is that of monolingualism. A lot of teachers feel that child should be exposed only to a single language, that is English language. That is a language that brings him success. Not true. Multilingualism is a very fabric of our society. Our brain is equipped to be multilingual. We are multilingual in nature, and multilingualism has lot of benefits, especially cognitive benefits. So with that, let's say goodbye to the subtopic language in schools. We will now talk about English in Indian society. So when we are talking about it, I am going to tell you why English has flourished in India. One primary reason is that, of course, it's a global language. That is the language that is equated with success. But beyond that, what are the other reasons why English has flourished in India? Why not Hindi or Assamese or Sanskrit or Tamil or Marathi or Oriya or Malayalam? Or why English? Well, one reason is that English is nobody's language. Had Hindi rose to power or Malayalam rose to power, if one of the Indian languages was declared as the national language of India, things would go really bad. Well, since I am making this point, let me take a quick detour and tell you, for those of you who don't know, Hindi is not the national language of our country. Hindi is the official language of our country, and English is the associate official language. So the question is, why do we have English as the associate official language, and why has English flourished in Indian society when compared to so many other regional Indian languages? Well, the reason is, people generally tend to see that elevation of one language to the status of official language endures great benefits and advantages to those whose mother tongue it is, which means it also places a discriminatory burden on others. So this is what people generally believe. So this can actually lead speakers of non-favored language to push a foreign language as the link language or the link medium to neutralize this imbalance. That explains why English is our associate official language. Now let's look at the history. Sanskrit was one of the most coveted languages. It was considered the language of scholars. Why did it not flourish? Why did Latin or Greek not flourish? Again, both of these languages were the language of the elites. Because when elites controlled these languages became rigid. They did not mix with others. These languages were seen as the language of a particular class of people, that is the language of elites. So these languages were not accessible to the general public, and therefore these languages did not flourish. So against this backdrop, you must be able to understand why English kept its place in India. Reason 1, it was fluid, it travelled all across the country forming different variants like Hinglish, Manglish and Tanglish, meaning it was open to change. The fact that English had so many different variants or accents shows how fluid and porous the language is. So when English mixed with Indian languages, it took new shape and evolved into what is known as a Indian English. So there are certain features to this Indian English. First one is reduplication, like I've already discussed. Expressions like slowly, slowly, very, very, these are all examples of reduplication. Then you have what is known as retroflex sounds, that is t sound, as in when we say table. It's different from how native speakers pronounce. They pronounce it as table and not table. Then we have wrong use of article, that is and one fat man instead of a fat man. Instead of and one fat man, that's an erroneous expression. We need to say and a fat man. Similarly, another example of wrong use of articles is we are going to temple. You need to say we are going to a temple, or we are going to the temple you visited last week. There again, you need to have an article before the word temple. Now, another feature is what is known as a tense fronting. I know what is your name. This expression is quite common, but the grammatically right sentence is I know what your name is. Another feature is what is known as a preposition stranding. An example of that is, to whom did you give it? That's wrong. Instead, you need to ask, whom did you give it to? Another feature is tag questions. That is, it is beautiful, no? This no actually comes from something like Sundar hai na, that na gets transferred, or the use of na at the end of this question or the sentence gets transferred to English, and therefore we end up saying things like it's beautiful, no, it was bad, no, it was good, no, etc. Why do we have these features in Indian English, and why does this happen? The simple answer is there's a good influence of mother tongue on any foreign language that we speak. Is that good? Is that bad? Well, it's definitely not bad because it is quite natural. Any speaker of any language will definitely have influence of his or her mother tongue on the foreign languages they speak. So please understand that it's quite normal and it's quite natural to have accents, to have transferred the features of your language to the foreign language that you're speaking. It's all quite normal as a learner. You may always read more, expose yourself to the target language so that you improve your proficiency in the language. That is always possible. Please remember that wherever you are as a language learner, please do not feel ashamed or have fears of committing errors that can only stop you from achieving proficiency in the language. And why is it okay to speak Indian or okay to speak the way that comes naturally to you? Because the whole world is multilingual in nature. Our country is very multilingual, and our human brains are also multilingual by default. Our brains are equipped to handle multiple languages. So, what do we understand with all that? With all this, with this entire lecture, having talked about how language is external to us, how it is in Indian society, how it is treated in schools, and the different features of Indian English, and why English has become the link language or the medium language in Indian society, with all that we have covered so far. So, what we need to understand from all that we have discussed so far is that our English is not wrong. We speak differently, and a substantial number of people speak language the same way, and in the process, the foreign language English is localized and Indianized. English is thus a part of our linguistic ecology, and therefore never feel bad about the accent or the way you speak. Speak it the way it comes to you naturally, and nothing is more graceful than speaking the way that comes to you naturally. So, with all this again, what did you learn about language learning and use? Well, there can be hundreds of theories about language learning, about language use, but the one undebatable mantra for improving your language skills, or for that matter in any language, is expose yourself more to the target language. Here in this case, it is English. So, expose yourself more to English language. It could be in the form of songs, essays and novels, and speech, public speeches, news, every different form. Any piece of writing that comes, that you come across, make sure that you read. In that process, you are exposing yourself to the target language, and this is the only workable mantra. That is, the more the input, the better the output. So, with that, we come to the end of this class. So, by now, I hope you have understood why I have included this particular module in a language course, English language course. You could say that it has got nothing to do with improving my language skills. It doesn't give any inputs or rules about using English language, but this definitely helps you get rid of a lot of misconceptions about language learning and use, be it any language. When you embark on a journey of language learning, be it any target, the target language could be any, in this case it is English. I feel it is important that you understand how language is internal to us, how language is external to us, and this understanding will definitely help you or aid you to get rid of a lot of misconceptions or stereotypes that hold us back from speaking confidently. In fact, I believe that everyone should know how language learning takes place within us, how language is present, or how language exists outside us, and what its features are. It can help us grow. It can help us use languages effectively and efficiently. So, with that, we are coming to the end of the session. I hope you enjoyed the session. I will meet you with a different topic on a different day. Until then, stay safe, take care, bye.